So the very first thing you need to do is complete page 2 of your homework sheet. So this the skeleton labeling task, classification task, and then answer the multiple choice questions. Now you should be able to do most of this without any support, but if you need to look at your revision guides or look at your notes in your book, then please do so. And then once you've done page 2, you go on to page 3 and you have a go at the longer questions, the 3-mark answer and the 4-mark answer questions. You do all of that before you watch this video. So only watch further on this video, please, once you've completed page 2 and page 3. Now you'll notice page 4 is identical to page 3, and this is your section where you're going to use the information on this video to make your answers better. So it won't be any good to you unless you've actually had a go, got a couple of things wrong, and then seen areas where you need to improve upon or not. So don't just watch this video and fill it in, because that won't work. Do page 3 to your best of your ability, and then watch this video and then complete page 4. Okay, so presuming you've done all that, let's have a look. So question number 5. Protection is a function of the skeletal system. Explain using one example how the skeletal system's protective function aids performance in physical activity and sport. We're going to use our bug technique and we're going to box explain. We're going to underline skeleton system's protective function and aids performance, because that's what the key thing is how does the skeleton create protection which aids performance? And we'll see this a lot in our questions, aids performance. That just means, what does it mean for the person who's taking part? How does the protective system help the person taking part in sport? So 3 marks available for it. So we circle the marks, knowing that we need 3 points in our answer in order to get the 3 marks. So the first bit is, what is the protective function? So what is the protective function? What does it do? Why does it do it? So it's all about preventing injury. Protective function is to prevent injury. We need to have an example of it. For example, the cranium protects the brain. For example, the sternum protects the heart. For example, the ribs protect the lungs. And how does the performer use it to aid performance? So what does a performer use that protective function for to make them better in their sport or to help them in their sport? So a model answer could be, function reduces injury. What is protection? Function reduces injury. For example, the cranium protects the brain when heading the ball towards the goal in football. So 3 parts to the answer covering those 3 areas. You need to tell me that it prevents injury. You need to give me an example of it. So cranium and brain, ribs and lungs. And then how does that help the performer and aid their performance? Why do they need it in order to continue doing what they've been doing? Okay, question number 6. Again, using our box technique, our bug technique. Explain, using an example, why white blood cell production is important for a rugby player. 3 marks, so circle the 3 marks, fully aware that you need 3 points in this answer in order to get the marks. First mark is available for what do white blood cells do. Second mark is available for how would they help a rugby player. And the third mark is available for what would this mean to their performance. So as we know, white blood cells fight infection in the bloodstream, or white blood cells fight pathogens in the bloodstream. If a rugby player got cut, the white blood cells would fight any infection in the bloodstream. Therefore, the rugby player can continue to play his rugby game, or therefore the rugby player can continue to train without getting ill. So white blood cells fight pathogens in the bloodstream. If a rugby player got cut, the white blood cells would fight off the pathogens, meaning that he can continue to play his game, meaning that he can continue to train. 3 marks available for that. So quite simple, really. Tell me what the white blood cells do, tell me how they would help a rugby player, and tell me what that would mean for their performance. Okay, question number 7. Again, relatively simple question. The skeletal system plays an important role in allowing for healthy and active lifestyles. Figure 5 shows a skeletal system of 2 basketball players. Now this is important because what they're trying to show you here is that actually the skeletal system has lots of things going on, but also there's a risk of injury within that. So there's a key point here. In the table below, identify 3 functions of the skeletal system in use during physical activity. Give 1 example of how each function is used during a game. So identify 3 functions of the skeletal system in use during physical activity. So the key point here is that we know our functions of the skeleton, but you need to be talking about functions relative to physical activity. It would no good It would be no good to talk about things which aren't relative to physical movement, physical activity, like storage of calcium and phosphorus. Be no good to talk about red and white blood cell production, because actually for movement and physical activity, they're not as important. So you need to highlight the big three for movement or physical activity. So in here, you'll be talking about joints for movement. In here, you'll be talking about muscle attachment points. And in here, you'll be talking about protection of the vital organs. And in this side, you need to give me a specific example of how that happens. So joints for movement allow movement of the body to get into different positions as you're playing your physical sport. Muscles create movement in the body, acting across a joint to create movement. For example, the basketball player doing a jump. And here, protection of the vital organs links back to the question which you did previously. If the basketball player fell over, the cranium would protect the brain. So you need to be specific about how it would help them in sport, but also three relative functions to movement. So you've got to choose functions which relate to specific movement.